Trade talks are escalating around the San Jose Sharks as key blue liners are gaining significant interest from contending teams, which seems like a massive Sharks trade is incoming. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we start, I just want to give a huge shout out to the 551 of you guys that are subscribed. If you're a Sharks fan and you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the Sharks, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the Four Nations tournament. So if you're enjoying this content and you want to stay up to date on the Sharks, go down and hit that subscribe button because it's completely free. But with that, let's hop straight into this topic today, which is we see multiple blue liners on the San Jose Sharks gaining a lot of interest from contending teams. Now, yesterday we did do a video talking about multiple players, and the biggest one was Granlund. That was expected to be traded. But from the article, we also see Cody, Ceci, and Mario Ferraro have gained interest. Ceci wants to go to a contender. Now, looking at this, just a few days ago, we did see Shangpeng sit down with Mike Grier and do an interview. In the interview, Mike Grier said, "It's important for me to have an open mind about where we're going and what another team might be willing to offer for one of our players and weigh it against the value of keeping those players around. Having them with a group, we're just not in the mode of just gathering picks for the sake of gathering picks." Now, the biggest thing is, and I know a lot of Sharks fans do agree with this, with some of these players, especially Granlund, we have seen them show a lot of just passion to be with this team. We've watched them help the young guys grow. Celebrini, Will Smith. You can work your way down the list. These veterans have been a huge part, but the blue line has been very shaky. Now, looking at Cody Ceci, who seems to want to join a contending team, we can see Ceci has played 54 games with the Sharks this year, 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. He has 60 shots. You can pause, you can work your way through, but the biggest thing is the time on ice, almost playing 22 minutes time on ice over the season. He is 31 years old. He is a veteran defenseman, has been around for quite some time with Ottawa, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, San Jose. He can block shots. He can throw hits. The biggest thing with Cody Ceci, we know he's on an expiring deal. At age 31, the cap hit a 3.2 year, 4-4, becoming a UFA at the end of the season. This seems like the perfect candidate, and with teams showing interest, for Mike Grier to move on from. Cody Ceci has showed value on this team, playing in the top line of, or top pairing, I should say, with the San Jose Sharks, with Wallman logging 22 minutes. As bad as this defense has been, Cody Ceci has been a spot on this team that has shown the veteran leadership for some of the younger guys working through the defensive core. Teams are going to be all over defensemen like this. And even though Mike Grier wants to weigh his options, he doesn't want to go out and just make a trade for the sake of getting more draft picks. I do think a right-handed defenseman in Cody Ceci with experience, playoff experience, everything in between, this guy is going to have a lot of interest from around the league. He wants to go to a contending team, and I'm not going to be shocked if we see the San Jose Sharks get a second and a prospect or more for Cody Ceci going into trade deadline. Now, from this, we can also see that Mario Ferraro has generated interest. There's a lot of teams. We've seen David Pagnotta link him to multiple teams, including contenders like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, looking at Mario Ferraro, he is younger. Mario Ferraro is only 26 years old. He's been with his team for the past couple of seasons, 54 games, 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points, logging just under 20.5 minutes per game. Mario Ferraro is an interesting one. We've seen him get drafted and play with the Sharks team ever since 2019. Since then, he's been a great defenseman on that second pairing, and I know there's been flashes where he doesn't look incredible, but the biggest thing is he's never had truly a great defensive core around him. Looking at him, he throws hits, he blocks a hell of a lot of shots. This is where I think it's going to get interesting, and especially going back to this quote, where they want to see how this works out, because it's going to take a lot to pry a guy like Mario Ferraro off this Sharks team. Looking at Ferraro, like I said, he does still have a year after this year. He will become a UFA at the age of 27 when his contract expires, but $3.2 million for a second pairing defenseman, left-handed, 6 foot, been with this franchise for quite some time. Someone that's not afraid to go out, get in the dirty areas. This is a typical shutdown defenseman in the second pairing, And there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be in on Ferraro, not because he's a defenseman that's going to put up points, as we did see him put up 21 points last year in 78 games. But the biggest thing is the hits, the block shots, the tenacity of a player like this with contending teams. I mean, we've seen so many teams linked to him. The first one being the Tampa Bay Lightning that could go in on him. The cap space might get a little weird. And we know the Sharks cannot retain on him this season. Brent Burns' retain will be up, so they could retain next year. And this is why I think a contract like this would be better suited to maybe move next year. We're going to see the cap rise. Teams are going to want to be buyers, especially teams looking to win a Stanley Cup. But looking at Mario Ferraro, it does get a little interesting. Once again, the biggest thing with Mario Ferraro is the 2-year deal on his contract. They can keep him, they can use him next year, trade him next deadline, trade him in the offseason. I think Ferraro would be better off kept on this team. You can't trade away everyone on this defense and expect the team to even compete anymore. You can call up some young guys. We've seen Thompson join this group. But the biggest thing is you need some veteran defensemen on this team. It's funny to say Mario Ferraro, 26 years old, is a veteran defenseman. But Sharks fans, what's your thoughts on moving Ferraro? As I said, my stance is I think you hold on to him, especially if this team is going out to move veterans like Cody, Ceci, and Granlund. I know Granlund's a center, but you still need some quality players on this roster to grow with the young group, to keep the young group experienced. The biggest thing is, yes, Granlund will end up probably being moved. It's going to suck, and it's going to hurt not seeing him in teal, but he's going to go on to a contending team. You're going to fetch quite a first-round pick and a haul for a player like this. Cody Ceci could be a second and a prospect. The biggest thing is we do know the Sharks have a butt ton of cap space going into deadline with almost $18 million. If they move out some of these contracts, they still get even more room to work with. We could see them go out and take on some bad one-year deals. Maybe this is how they get some veterans on this team. I mean, looking at the defensive core, we've seen them take on Wallman on with a second-round pick, I believe it was. But Wallman has been their leading scorer on defense and a bright spot on this team, even though his defensive play is not incredible. Maybe we see them go out, trade Cody Ceci for a couple picks and a bad contract. Maybe you use that bad contract, try to turn him in to another NHL player or a player that can be serviceable. I mean, there's a lot of players around the league that maybe just needs another chance on a different team to really show their worth. And maybe the Sharks can trade on from a guy like this to get more draft capital in the offseason going into next season or at next year's trade deadline. Mike Grier has a master plan. We're seeing him work with his drafting. I mean, Sam Dickinson, Celebrini, all these young guys look incredible already. What's your guys' thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on two of these defensemen being added to the trade block with multiple teams showing interest? What's your thoughts on Granlund? I know Josh and Casey spoke on it yesterday, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But other than that, I've been your host, Mark Pye, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, as I said, we're trying to reach 1,000 by the 4 nations. Make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. The Sharks do not get enough coverage, and that's exactly what we're here for. If you guys want us to talk about something too, let us know down in the comments. While down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back maybe tonight or tomorrow with another episode, definitely tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that, but I've been your host, Mark Pye, and take care.